Hey YouTube, it is league turnover day. So this week there are 2 leagues going on. So Great League, which I've done top teams in most of my teams last week, and this upcoming week probably will be Great League, so check those out. But Weather Cup Ultra League Edition. So 2500 CP Ultra League, Fire, Water, Ice, and Rock. So they did this for Great League already, right? And we know that sort of water is going to be very predominant just based on the typings, right? Because water is super effective against fire, it's super effective against rock, and most times it will do well against ice as well. So this is just gonna be filled with water Pokemon and then duo typings. So let's take a look at the rankings on PVPoke. So timestamps below, what I do is top 20 Pokemon, just go over them, why they're here, strengths and weaknesses, and then I got 4 team suggestions. So timestamps below if you want to just jump to that. So lots of blue on this. So let's actually just start with the blue because these are all the water ones. Jellicent, Ludicolo, Lantern, Swampert, Twice, Tapu Fini, Keldeo. I don't even know what Keldeo, Ordinary. Okay. Samurott. I will not talk to that one because I do not know what that one is. Tentacruel, Slowbro, Slowking. So why are they all on here? So Jellicent is just one of those Pokemon that once it got Surf in the Ultra League, it picked up like 8 matchups. And it's just a very strong Pokemon. Obviously, Surf will do well against, like I said, Fire and Rock, but you also have that Shadow Ball, which will do well against other Water-type Pokemon, which is where some other Water Pokemon may sort of lack, is that sort of secondary matchup here. But just it's bulky. Surf and Shadow Ball are both good moves. Hex is okay for energy generation, so Jellicent should be one of the top ranked. Ludicolo is where you get the sneaky Razor Leafer in here, right? If rock's gonna be weak to grass and water's gonna be weak to grass, right? And there's like no fires essentially on this list, right? So water type Pokemon that is also half grass, being able to just Razor Leaf its way through this meta is gonna be very, very strong. One thing you will notice here, lots of XLs on this list, right? Rankings 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 10, 15, 17, 18, 19, 20. Right, so lots of XLs, and the non-XLs are either like legendary Pokemon or Swampert, or like community Pokemon, Swampert, Samurott with Hydro Cannon. So I think that makes this league a little trickier. There's ways to get around the XL, but you will see either XLs or legendaries on a lot of teams. And speaking of another XL, Lantern, same sort of idea as Ludicolo, right? If you're gonna have the secondary typing helps here, where you're gonna have an electric secondary typing to take out all those waters, right? And plus you still have the Surf for if you get hit with the rock, right? To resist, that will resist the Spark and Thunderbolt. I think you need a hundo and you need 296 XL candies. I have neither, so that will not be one I'm using. Swampert, there will never ever be a limited meta that has Swampert in where Swampert is not on the top ranked Pokemon, right? I don't need to go over Swampert. You know what Swampert is. Hydro Cannon is a beast of move. Earthquake is a beast of move. Super spammy, just domination. Tapu Fini, if you've played Ultra League, you know Tapu Fini is a great Ultra League Pokemon. As it works well against a lot. It's Water Gun is a decent fast move. Surf, we know it's kind of like a sneaky, hard hitting charge move plus Moonblast is a nice coverage move here. I don't think the fairy typing does you any strengths in this. It's just kind of it's a water, right? So you're going to have the same sort of water resistances, and that's not true. That is not true at all because of 13 and 18. So take that back. So there are a couple poison in this. So Keldeo, I don't know what it is, but I'm guessing it's a new. So let me just look this up in the PVPoke rankings because Keldeo looks like an interesting one. It is I'm guessing fighter and water type Pokemon. Yep. So weak to electric, fairy, flying, grass, and psychic, but lots of resistances, and 3 resistances being water, rock, 4 resistances: water, rock, ice, and fire. So the whole meta here, right? It's got Sacred Sword, which is a legacy move, so you need Elite TM for that if you don't have it. And it looks like it's running both charge moves, right? So Sacred Sword is a pretty spam move in close combat. If you don't have that Sacred Sword, I'm just looking at the moveset here. Aqua Jet, close combat, Hydro Pump, and X Scissor. I mean, Sacred Sword, if so, you could run this with Poison Jab, Close Combat, and then either Aqua Jet or X Scissor if you don't want a Sacred Sword Elite TM this. But definitely, like, just looking at the matchups quickly, it beats, because it's got that charge, like Sacred Sword and thing, it's obviously picking up all the wins against Credility, anything weak to fighting, Credility, Abomasnow, stuff like that. But it's also got matchups against like Samurott and stuff like that, weak against Swampert, Lantern, Jellicent, Slowbro, which I think is going to be predominant. So I don't expect to see this much, but has some play. Samurott is sort of your other option. The half bug makes it interesting. The thing is, like, would you want Mudshot and Earthquake, or would you want Fury Cutter and Megahorn? I mean, Fury Cutter and Megahorn is going to help with like the Abomasnow, but I gotta imagine that Mudshot and Earthquake is going to help you with everything else in this meta. So that's kind of why I think Samurott is just less ranked. Again, and Fury Cutter is a little slower probably than Mudshot. A Sandslash, I think, is going to be a very sneaky, very strong pick. I've got it on a couple of my teams. It does well against a lot of this meta. That steel typing comes in clutch here. And again, there's not a ton of fighters in this. Like I said, there is apparently Sacred Sword Close Combat here, but there's not a lot of fighters, which is your main weakness. And there's not going to be a lot of fire. So you just really got to worry about like the grounds from like the Earthquake and stuff here. It's a bit glassy. I mean, XL, it's still glassy relative to everything else on this list for being an XL, but again, Shadow Claw is a great fast move, community move, Ice Punch and Bulldoze, good coverage, Outswiller. And then Tentacruel, Slowbro, and Slowking. Tentacruel is your poison user, so again, secondary typing helps here. Poison will just do well against most things here. Obviously, will destroy Abomasnow and do well in neutral matchups across the board here. And then Skull just for its main move. And then Slowbro, Slowking. I guess Slowbro and Slowking on a team here. Same moveset, same matchups as you're going to see. I'll just go over that in the team. And then there's a couple of rock here. I'll start with Regirock because I think a lot of people probably have access to Regirock if you've done any sort of raid. So Stone Edge Focus Blast. It's one of those things where it's like you're weak to fire. You're weak to water and you're weak to grass, which is everywhere here. But Stone Edge and Focus Blast are such just hard hitting moves that it kind of is like you're going to lose a lot, but you're going to also do a ton of chip damage. So that's kind of how it plays. Credility, Rock and Grass is a great typing for this meta. So that'll neutralize water for starters. You have Bolty and Grass Knot, which is going to one-shot most things. You got Stone Edge, which is going to do well against Abomasnow, which is going to be resisting all the grass moves. So Credility, great coverage across the board. I expect it if you have it, I expect it to see on some teams. So what I did is I started with a Pokemon that I have that I think is very strong. So I have a rank 1 Jellicent for Ultra League, and look at that down the board, and that's just kind of what you expected, right? You're gonna have some weaknesses to it, again, Lantern Electric, Abomasnow Grass, Credility Grass, but outside of that, your moveset and your bulk is going to dominate this league. So I covered those 3 weaknesses up top with Kyurem. So Kyurem is also supposed to be one of like a sneaky strong Pokemon. Again, not a ton. Again, A9 as a fairy is gonna be one of your hardest answers, but otherwise, like, it's pretty strong across the board. So I would not be surprised. Actually, quite honestly, I may run with this team to start. I don't know if I have any of these built. I have Jellicent built up. I don't know if I have the other 2 built up yet. But I think these 2 secondary Pokemon are just overall I think this whole like just strong coverage across the board here. I do have Poliwrath on a team because Poliwrath has access to Dynamic Punch and it charges very, very fast. So it's a nice answer to anything like Ice, which you have double Ice here, that's weak to fighting, right? Because those Dynamic Punches are going to just boom you, which is why you pair it with Jellicent, because really with Jellicent, Poliwrath has nowhere to go. So sort of ABB style team, you have to try and draw out like a Poliwrath here. I'd probably try and try it out with a Kyurem. But again, it's just depending on what you see on the lead. It takes some like what's on the lead, quick like thinking, what's on the lead, what can possibly be in the back. Do I need to try and draw out a Poliwrath here? So overall, I think these 3 will have a ton of play in this meta. So team number 2 here, I started with Swampert because I'm like, everyone's got Swampert, right? Realistically, Swampert's going to have a little bit of trouble in this meta. Again, just based on the secondary typings of a lot of these Pokemon. Like Credilli, like your main move is Hydro Cannon, so all the grass and all the water are going to resist Hydro Cannon, right? So you got to land an Earthquake in a lot of these situations. And if they shield the Earthquake, it's going to be pretty tricky too. So there are some like wins here. Like I said, like your great answer, Ace Hand Slash and Tentacruel as a poison user, and Lantern, just if you've played Great League, you know that. But man, there's a lot of other Pokemon that are going to beat you here down the board. So you need something to try and cover all of that. So I put a ragtag team together of Abomasnow and Aurora, double ice, because you got the you'll cover like the Credilli, and you'll cover sort of Tapu Fini with the grass and Abomasnow, and then Aurorus is another one that can kind of deal with a lot of the other Pokemon. So Swampert is interesting. I think Swampert is probably limited in this meta, given how many other Pokemon there are, but it's not something that you can completely write off, because again, Swampert ramped up with Hydro Cannons or Earthquakes is still very, very tough to deal with. I think Abomasnow, again, there's not a ton of poison. There's Tentacruel and stuff like that, which is a little bit of a problem, but I think Abomasnow's duo typing and being able to throw either ice or grass in this meta is very, very, very strong. So I expect to see Abomasnow everywhere. And Aurorus is one of those Pokemon where it's like, again, I think that Abomasnow's grass typing is way better than Aurorus's rock typing as a secondary typing here. Or again, Aurorus will still have play for sure, but it makes it a little trickier to run, in my opinion. So the third team I was looking at is I started with the Slowbros, because I'm like, the Slowbros are on here. We just had Community Day. Everyone probably should have access to this. So I put them in, and I'm like, you know what? That's not bad. That is not bad, because the Confusion Surf is and I forget. Sorry, the Confusion maybe Psychic. Yeah, Psychic makes sense as the third move. Is gonna do well in all situations. And here we go. So a Golem as an electric. Obviously you're gonna have trouble there, but outside of that, like, these are a lot of wins against a lot of meta Pokemon. The only problem is some of the top Pokemon you're going to lose against should be everywhere, right? I don't know about Credilli and Lantern. Depends on how many XLs people have, but Jelson should be everywhere. Ace Ansel should be everywhere. Samurott, maybe. And then Slowbro is, again, that's just a neutral matchup. But I kind of like this pairing. Like, a lot of safe matches. You pull out one, and then what do you do to cover all those top Pokemon? Credilli is the answer to there. Because again, it's ranked one. I wanted to see what it looks like, and it looks like it's pretty good coverage on the board. So Credilli double slow is probably going to be a team. If you have Credilli, or even if you don't, something double slow, Slowbro, Slow King is going to be a team you're going to see. I know for sure, just based on these matchups, and just having the Psychic is just such a good move, and there's not a ton of like Steel straight up to resist it. There's some, but not a ton. So I think it's going to be a really, really strong backline ABB style team. So it just depends what that A is going to be. I think Credilli is a good A if you have it. So the third one is I had to use Kyurem again because it's good. So I actually started with, what did I start with here? Maybe I started with Lantern. I think I started with Lantern, and they recommended Credilli after. So like Lantern, great down the board. Obviously Swampert's an issue if you've seen that in Great League, but outside of that, like, Lantern's a beast. I don't have it, so if it's out there, it's good. Kyurem is such a good pair with it. And then I wanted to try Poliwrath, because I think Poliwrath is very interesting in the fact that it's going to be hit and miss here, right? Because you're going to have just some matchups. If you're running, depends what your second move is. I want to see what PVPoke recommending, because you need Dynamic Punch for sure on Poliwrath. So Dynamic Punch and Scald is the recommended moveset. So the thing is, unless it's a Shadow, then they're recommending Dynamic Punch and Ice Punch. Interesting, I guess, because you're a little more glassy and it's more a bait move. Here's the thing. Dynamic Punch is going to be a great move for a ton of Pokemon, right? Credilli is weak to it. Abomasnow is weak to it. A Sandslash is weak to it. Lapras is weak to it. Walreign's weak to it, right? And just in neutral situations, Dynamic Punch is a great move. The problem is your second move, because once you do that, there are other ghosts and stuff like this. Like, so there's Tapu Fini as a fairy. There's Jelson as a ghost that will resist. There's Tentacruel as a poison, right? So there's a lot of secondary typings on here that are going to resist, and Gyarados as a flyer, that are going to resist the fighting move. And your second move is either ice or water, both of which are going to be resisted in a lot of these situations anyways. So the problem with Poliwrath is I think it has some play in this meta, but I also think it can be very, very easily walled given the typings in this meta. So you may want to use it on the lead. How I would use this team is I would honestly use Poliwrath on the lead to see if you run into like a Jellicent or one of those Pokemon that just wall it, and then Lantern and Kyurem in the back are generally safe to deal with the rest. That is how I would run Poliwrath if you were thinking about using it. Anyways, very XL dominated Pokemon that, here's the thing is like, I think if you don't have a Jellicent, Abomasnow, Tapu Fini, a Sandslash, Tentacruel to a certain extent, Pelipper, even Lantern and Credilli to a certain, less so Credilli, more Lantern. I think all these Pokemon do have play in Ultra League open. So you may be thinking, why am I going to spend hundreds of thousands of dust and candies powering up these Pokemon if I'm just going to use them for this meta? I think a lot of these Pokemon have play in open Ultra League, so they're worth building up. So keep that in mind if you want to play this league. I do think it'll be interesting. I will for sure. I always want to put out a team first day on Thursday just to give people ideas of what worked, what I'm seeing, what worked, what didn't work. I could see this being one of those leagues where I get bored very quickly and go to Great League. Because even as we get into the bottom, like Gyarados and Walrein and stuff like that, I just think that the top Pokemon in Credilli, Jellicent, Lantern, Abomasnow, a Sandslash, and maybe the Slowbros, and maybe Pelipper. I think there's going to be a lot of XL Pokemon that are just going to dominate this meta, and I think the meta is going to shrink really, and Kyurem. I think the meta is going to shrink really, really, really fast, and that's what I'm worried about. So I will let you know tomorrow, so be sure to hit the subscribe button if you're new to come back and get that notification for tomorrow's team, and I will let you know in tomorrow's video what I found that worked, what didn't work, and what I am seeding in this meta. So let me know in the comments below if you're playing this league. Let me know what you are using if you plan on playing this league, and I will see you guys in the next one.